Welcome, welcome. This is the Enlightenment Podcast, and I'm your host, Laurie Schoenfeld. This is a part of the Authors on Air Global Radio Network. I am so excited to be back with all of you. Thank you so much for your love and support while I took some time to heal. And we are back with two fabulous guests today, Cendrine Marrouat. Marrouat. I'm going to say it again. Okay, tell us, Cendrine.
Cendrine Marrouat. Hello, everyone.
Marrouat and David Ellis. Thank you, Cendrine. We're going to be talking about their business. They are the co-founders of Auroras and Blossoms. And we're going to start with Cendrine first and move to over to David. Can you tell Cendrine a little bit about yourself and what you're up to in the world right now?
Oh my God, I'm so busy. I'm going to give you the short spiel. Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for having us today, Laurie. It's very exciting to be here. So my name is Cendrine Marrouat, and as you can hear, I'm originally from France. I was born and raised in southern France, Toulouse, for those who know. And I moved to Winnipeg, Canada in 2003. So it's been 18 years, actually almost to the day. So I've done many things in my career. But right now what I'm doing is I'm a photographer, poet, author of more than 30 books, the co-creator, the co-founder of Auroras and Blossoms with David. We also co-created PoArtMo, and we'll talk about that later. And I'm also the creator and the co-creator with David of several artistic forms as well. The Sixku, Kindku, PoArtMo, and Flashku, all in ku, because it's all inspired by the haiku, Japanese poetry forms. And I'm sure I forgot a few things, but that's, photographer, poet, author, and co-creator. That's basically me in a nutshell. The rest will come back to me later.
I love that so much. And I want to kind of address some of that too after we hear about David. Can you tell us a little bit about who you are and what you're up to in the world right now?
Absolutely. So I am a poet, just like Cendrine. I have 8 of my own poetry books that I've written. I've co-written books, lots of books with Cendrine in relation to our Auroras and Blossoms platform. As she said, we have 30 publications. We've got anthologies. We've got marketing books, social media guides. We've got plenty of kind of sort of guides for people on how to market themselves better as writers and poets. And I also have a comedy book as well. I've written a spoof of 50 Shades of Grey. It's called 50 Shapes of Cakes. I just have loads and loads of ideas for poetry. I've got lots and lots of poetry sloshing around that I want to publish. Thanks to Cendrine's kind of sort of help, I only had about 3 or 4 books published. I think it was 4 books published in 2016. And then when me and Cendrine teamed up in mid 2019 for Auroras and Blossoms, our output increased to date. We've got virtually nearly 30 publications that we've been involved with. So we've been very prolific, and that's why sometimes it's a struggle to remember exactly how many things we've done. We've got the artistic movement PoArtMo, which we've actually changed the name of because it's just grown and grown. And so we're going to be announcing that further down the line to all of our subscribers. We have that artistic movement. We've got all of the forms that we created that Cendrine mentioned, and we just don't want to stop doing sort of things. We've got a kids anthology that we're working on along with our regular PoArtMo anthology, which we actually got a second volume because we launched it last year, PoArtMo, and we're rapidly filling up a third volume of PoArtMo. It's just something where it was supposed to be like a thing that was once a year. This movement was once a year, and then we then realized that we can actually spread it out to a full year. And now we're getting to the point where we could have multiple volumes in a year because it's becoming that popular, an artistic movement. And we're so happy the fact that we've started that. And we've got so many projects and plans in mind that it's just getting to them all that takes the time. But we've got the time and the dedication that we're going to focus on, for the upcoming months and keep releasing stuff.
I love all of the beautiful projects that you both are creating as a team. I'm going to ask this of David this time and then send it to Cendrine. David, I would love to know why you got started into Auroras and Blossoms and how that all took place of meeting Cendrine meeting you, and coming together as a team to build this beautiful business and platform that you are establishing and well known for.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to mention how we came to fruition. Basically, Cendrine and I, we've never actually met face to face. We only ever sort of chatted. We've seen each other face to face, but we've not actually met face to face. We are planning that, when things die down a bit more with the pandemic. So hopefully, sort of next year or sometime or the year after, when travel isn't so bad and the infection has died down, we can actually finally get to. We've talked about doing book tours and other kind of, sort of projects and other sort of collaborative nature. So Cendrine and I actually got in touch with each other. We interviewed each other, I believe, for our respective blogs. And I said it was back in 2019. It was around about sort of 2018, 2019 sort of time. And we both were very interested in creating a poetry magazine. But we said to ourselves, what would be different to what we're seeing everywhere else? And we found that a lot of people that write poetry are negative. They tend to they use catharsism, and they tend to use a lot of negative experiences, and it's their way of kind of sort of dealing with the hurt and the pain and the grief and the suffering. And we were just like, well, we want more positive energy and more positive poetry in the world. We don't understand why, there are obviously people that do it, but it wasn't on a level we just weren't seeing it. We were seeing so much kind of negative poetry. Or just poetry that wasn't moving us or inspiring us, and we thought, well, that's something that we want to create. That's what we want to do. We want to team up together and to make. And then we spent the best part of 2019 workshopping together, and trying to create a load of rules and things for our website. So we created a website, and we started off with a poetry journal. Because poetry was our kind of common ground. We both wrote poetry. We both like different types of poetry. We both see eye to eye on a lot of different things. That's why our partnership works so very, very well. And because we had that common goal, and because we kind of forged that thing, when that came out, we kind of evolved Auroras and Blossoms. I chose Auroras because I liked the word about the sun rising, and Cendrine went with the blossoms because she loves the cherry blossoms with a Japanese kind of sort of haiku connection there as well. So that's how our teamwork. Everything is kind of sort of like we try to balance things out and make it sort of a teamwork whenever we do any kind of sort of project. And when we started off with poetry, we found that we were like, why restrict ourselves to just poetry? Why not look at other art forms as well? Because pictures and stories and 6-word stories and all sorts of other kind of sort of art can be inspirational as well. And we just thought, we like poetry, but it just felt too kind of restrictive at the time. And that's why the platform grew to encompass other art forms and styles. And that's almost where we got to that point. We then tried to incorporate other things, like we mentioned before when we introduced ourselves, that we came up with poetry forms, and then Cendrine came up with a flash fiction type sort of form based around the other sort of forms that we created. So we just can't stop creating. We had lots of books that were and manuals and things that we created for artists and people. And now Auroras and Blossoms has grown to the point where it's an art platform, but it does encompass all manner of aspects and different things, and the PoArtMo movement, which we created. I believe it was last year, wasn't it, Cendrine? So Auroras and Blossoms was launched in mid 2019, but we didn't launch PoArtMo until 2020. And that was mid 2020, funnily enough. Again, it's always sort of halfway through the year. And we launched that because we were trying to generate a movement that would inspire people, like National Poetry Writing Month, which you have in April. So where people would write for a month, we said, what about if people created positive art for a month? And then that's when we went and said, well, we don't need to restrict it to just 1 month. We could actually make it into a full thing. And that's where we're at with Auroras and Blossoms right now. It's grown significantly, but it did start humbly as a poetry magazine or a poetry journal, and it couldn't be self-contained. It was just like we wanted to explore all the different art, inspirational art sort of forms and types, and keep evolving ourselves, so we keep creating new things all the time, and we've got new projects going on all the time as well.
I absolutely love that. Cendrine, would you like to add your perspective to your journey of meeting David and the different beautiful projects that you've come together to create.
Well, I think you summed up everything perfectly. But yeah, the thing about Auroras and Blossoms is that we, from the beginning, we said we're not going to restrict ourselves to just one thing. We're going to turn this into a platform, because if something doesn't work out, we want the rest, the time investment, the effort to be worth something. And we keep growing because we listen to feedback or non-feedback. People don't respond to us as well. We take that as a clear sign that something is not working or they're not interested. And one of the things we wanted to do with Auroras and Blossoms, which was really important to us, is to ensure that we use that theme of upliftment, inspiration, positivity to be spread towards the whole family. Auroras and Blossoms is a family-friendly platform, which means that kids have to be able to see the art and the work that we publish. So we don't accept anything that has dirty words, erotica, or politics. Politics can be accepted as long as the conversation nurtures positivity, optimism, and hope. That's the main thing. So the stuff people submit to us has to be clean. We do not publish anything. Even one swear word will be a big no-no. And another thing, because we're family friendly, we also accept submissions from teenagers from the age of 13. So we want this platform to be open to kids and adults as well, because we believe that kids have wonderful things to teach us as well, and sometimes better than adults, because they have no filter in the sense that they've not been jaded by the world. So they can offer a view on the world that maybe, of course, childish because they're children, but which is a good cause for optimism, because most of the time adults, we look at our own problems, our own world, and we don't see different things. We don't see the positivity in some of the things that we experience or we live. That's why the book, The Little Prince, for example, is such a fabulous book, because children, adults alike can read it and can take lessons from it. So that's basically what Auroras of Blossoms is all about. It's about family friendliness, positivity, upliftment. And now we're not limiting ourselves to just artists. We believe at Auroras and Blossoms that everyone has a voice, no matter who they are or they come from, as long as they are 13. That's the age limit, 13. They can submit to us. So if they're working on positive, uplifting projects, on concepts or seek to nurture hope and optimism and happiness, activists, philanthropists, and so on and so forth. Non-artists, people don't think they're artists, but who have things to say, who work on positive businesses. There are some people who have businesses, and businesses are not just to make money. For some people, it's about brightening up the days of other people. So some business owners, entrepreneurs are all about uplifting other people. So we want to extend the invitation to submit to us for a PoArtMo movement, the PoArtMo Collective as well that we have, which used to be collective of artists, and now it's a collective open to entrepreneurs, business owners, kids 13 and older, activists, anthropologists. I'm tired. Activists, philanthropists, and so on and so forth. And anyone who didn't think, I could be published in a book, but I have a nice story to tell. It could be just about anything, as long as it is positive, clean, and family friendly. This is something that we would love to read. And we're particularly interested in people who are working on projects, concepts, and businesses with very, very positive stories. And when we talk about inspirational and positive, people think that, oh my God, you have to be positive, be like, it's cheesy and everything. No, it can be a story, for example, can be about suicide, but it can be about the lessons that the person learned through that experience, so that they can they can help someone else see the light who experienced suicide or cancer. So we really encourage conversations like that as well, because we all know life is not easy. Life is not black and white. There are different shades of life. There are difficult moments, happy moments, and life is really worth worth it, despite the difficulties, the negativity. So you can turn any story you want into something positive. So that's really what Auroras and Blossoms is all about.
I am loving this conversation so much because it's really, I love how you mentioned, both of you, how everyone has a story and we're all artists in some form, even when we don't think we are. We all are. We're all expressive humans that need to communicate in some form, which comes in some form of art. How have you both, and we'll start with Cendrine on this question, going into the topic of passionately inspiring creativity, how have you seen it help you within your own life, but also support your community specifically during this time to bring in passion and creativity?
Creativity, for me, creativity cannot exist without passion. That's how I sum it up. If you are not passionate about something, what you will create will not resonate with people. So, and there's nothing wrong with being passionate and wanting to make money. Because some people think, oh, I'm a creative, an artist, I shouldn't make money. No. It's the point of being an artist is inspire others. It's what you want to do. You want to inspire others. You want to trigger conversations. And even if they're negative conversation, what lessons can you teach people about those negative conversations? So what I've been doing and what we've been doing with David, especially in the pandemic, is it just, promoting Auroras and Auroras and Blossoms, as a place where people have a voice, they can express themselves. And we believe that, through art, you can change the world because you can create such great conversations. So that's basically what we've been doing, because you don't need to be effective and to be impactful in your life. You don't need to do a lot of big things. It can be a little thing. I'll give you an example. It was years ago, but I'm sure it will resonate with people who are watching right now. I released a book years ago. It was my third or fourth book, short poetry for those who fear death. And I wrote that book after the passing of my mother, who committed suicide. And, I released that book. It was short poems to help people because I'd grieved very healthily. Yes, you can do that, actually. So I received an email from someone out of the blue, completely out of the blue, said to me something like, before reading your book, I wanted to die. I wanted to kill myself. And now I've read your book and I have hope. Life is so worth it. I want to live. I'm not quoting literally because it was years ago, but it's more or less the message that a person gave. So that's basically what it is. It doesn't really matter what you do, as long as you do it with passion, with a view to brighten up someone's day, then you will have an impact. And it doesn't have to be big gestures. It doesn't have to be that, because with social media, we're used to people doing such big gestures that we think, oh, I need to do that to be validated as an inspirational person. But that's not the way it is. You have to work with your audience, and then, it will have a snowball effect. Start with one person at a time. That's really what there is to it. If you can make someone's day better, then it will translate into them wanting to make someone else's day better as well. So that's it.
I love that, Cendrine. Thank you so much for sharing that. It's the domino effect for sure. Like, it just keeps passing on the kindness and the love, and we need that consistently as much as we can get. David, I'm going to turn the same question over to you. How has passionately inspiring creativity supported you in your own life, but also in your community as well?
I think that for me, I can't turn off being creative. I feel like I feel uncomfortable if I'm not creating something. I actually feel like if even when I'm kind of trying to relax and I'm trying to enjoy myself and do stuff, is that I would rather be creating something because I feel like it's a productive use of my time. But also, I feel like it's something that it fulfills me. is that I feel kind of sort of empty if I'm not doing it. And I find if I don't do it for a long time or even a short period of time, I feel like something's missing in my life. So I have to fill it with creativity, and I never feel like I'm wasting any time when I'm dealing with creativity. And the reaction I get from people as well, like when I tend to share my poetry, I share kind of romantic poetry and uplifting poetry and inspirational poetry and motivational poetry. And the effect that I get from people, the kind of feedback that I get from people is that sometimes I go through periods when I don't actually send it to people, and then I'll then start sending it again, and they're so generous, they're so nice and supportive, and a lot of the time they're just like, oh, thank you for sort of giving me this sort of time in my life. And I'm the same with I share a lot of humor when it comes to animals as well, so people love my animal sort of stuff on Facebook, and I'm not the one creating the content, but I do tend to curate a lot of content and push that through, and that's got nothing to do with Auroras and Blossoms or my own kind of sort of creativity. It's just something that I do. I'm a huge animal lover. I love cats and dogs and everything in between, apart from snakes. But I just like being creative and giving people something to just either inspire them or motivate them or just make their day happier, because we're going through an awful lot with this pandemic. We came up with this whole concept of creativity and positivity and upliftment way back before the pandemic started, and to me it's kind of just like, well, the world needs it more than ever now. And for our communities and sort of stuff, is that I think, to be brutally honest, I think we should be more popular than we are, simply because and it's not an understatement. I just think it's because people want positivity and upliftment. There's nothing toxic about it. There's nothing kind of like, oh, we're trying to tell people to be positive for the sake of being positive. No, it's trying to give people positivity to help them through their lives, to give them some sort of upliftment, to help them through the pain and the suffering in their lives, and just to help them keep being and maybe even being productive themselves. Because if they create art, I mean, art is great therapy for people. And I often quote Neil Gaiman, and I just say, if you're ever in kind of sort of pain or suffering or struggling, just make good art and use that to really kind of take yourself out of the funk that you're in. And don't pour negativity into your art. Just create art for the sake of creating art. Don't worry about how it stacks up compared to other people. It's just about you having fun and creating something that hopefully, if you like it, then other people will like it as well.
Absolutely. I love that quote that you just had mentioned about with Neil Gaiman. It's one of my favorites as well. Thank you for sharing that with us. Where can they, so you mentioned that you do accept submissions. Where can they find you? And if someone is interested in sending their writing to you, what would they need to do to get that put together? Well, David, will you answer that question?
I thought you were going to let me off the hook and get Sandrine to do it. Nope. Sandrine's like, no way, you're going to have to. You're on your own, pal. I thought this was a partnership. It's really pretty one-sided right now.
You need me to mind up.
So we have our own website, and it is called www.abpositiveart.com, which is Auroras and Blossoms Positive Art, but we didn't want to spell it all the way out because people would be typing to eternity if they had to do the whole thing. So it's abpositiveart.com. And there is a submissions page there. We have like a menu, and you've got all of the things, like it tells about the issues that we've done, the magazine issues, but there's a page for our books, there's a page for our guidelines and that kind of sort of stuff. But there is a submissions page, and on the submissions page is where you'll find all our current projects. And as we mentioned earlier before, we are taking entries for our third volume of PoArtMo. We're actually working on the second one at the moment. We're editing that and getting that ready, sorting out the cover and that sort of stuff. So that's going to be published soon. But we are taking entries for the third PoArtMo anthology, and we also have a youth edition that we're also taking entries for. We've very nearly filled that one up, so we're getting close to doing that as well. And basically the person has to come along and then use our submission form. And so what they do is that for children, we allow one free piece to be submitted via their parents. So providing, of course, that the child is under sort of 16, if they're 16 or over, I believe it might be 17 actually. I think from 13 to 16, we're saying that the parents have got to submit the piece. They're allowed to submit one free piece. Any more than that, and they'd have to pay. So we tend to just go with the one piece for the kids version. For the adult version, we charge a fee, and all the fees are kind of sort of laid out on our website. We don't like charging a fee, but we've explained it in our guidelines why we have to, because our time, is precious. And when we put a lot of work into Auroras and Blossoms, some people just think, oh, it's just, you just have to read a little poem, but it's not, because we're talking about the editing, the proofreading of the actual anthology itself. And we can have 30, 40 artists in there. We've got the publishing side, the marketing side, the general kind of upkeep of, and maintenance of our own website, and all of our other sort of projects as well. And we could just take everything in for free, like a lot of magazines do, and then we would see ourselves quickly disappear, because a lot of those magazines can't last. They're not even really magazines, they're kind of like online websites that just take in stuff and to just publish it willy-nilly. But we are true publishers because we offer digital publishing. And when you're successful, when you submit to us, we actually create a digital version, and we're hopefully in the future we're looking to create print versions for some of the stuff where, because we have art, Laurie, we have to kind of avoid pure sort of print versions for the ones that have art as well, because it would just drive the price up astronomically of the book itself, because we want good quality kind of sort of pictures when it comes to the printing side, and we don't want to have to force people to pay $80, $100 for something like that. But when we've got something like, for example, the youth edition, which is just all poetry, those are the kind of sort of things that we're thinking about splashing out into print versions for, simply because it won't, it'll just be poetry and stories and sort of stuff, and it won't drive up the cost for the end sort of person to do it, because we want grandparents to get these things for their children as well. But all of the kind of sort of guidelines are on our submissions page on our website, and we have a couple of steps for people to follow. So depending on whether it's an adult or child thing, they might have to either pay or not. But so the child's one is more simplified because they don't have to pay, and therefore they submit with a free entry form. But the adult one, they have to go through a process where they'll pay, and then we'll give them the submission form for them to complete, and they have to fill in certain parts to ensure that they read our guidelines properly, because we have a lot of people in the past that used to ignore our guidelines before we implemented this sort of procedure. And we as a result, I would say we get slightly fewer submissions, but the submissions that we do get are serious ones. We don't just get people, we get silly people that just try to just email our general website saying, here's some poetry, publish me. And we're just like, I don't know how on earth those people get published. They clearly, I mean, it's not even a lack of professionalism. It's just a lack of respect for magazine people. Some people tend to just treat us like we're a promotional sort of platform that will publish anything that they send to us. And we're just like, no, you have to respect the fact that we are editors, we're co-founders of a platform, and our time is valuable. And we want, we are publishers. We're effectively traditional sort of publishers of people. We're creating anthologies and things. And if you want to be in our things, we're very, very generous with our publishing sort of slots. But we need people to be professional and to treat us with respect if we're going to actually publish them in our publications.
Absolutely. There's a lot of backstage work that goes into what you guys are doing that most do not see, but there's a lot more than what it appears. And we'll put the link down in the comments below so that those who are interested in submitting, they'll have that easy access over there as well. Cendrine, I'm going to turn it to the inner child question and start with you. If you see yourself as any sort of animal, what would your spirit animal be and why?
Oh my God. That's such a hard question to answer because I have dogs and a cat at home. I've lived with pets my entire life. Oh, I would say I'm a cat. I'm a cat for sure. I thought I was a dog person initially because, I have had dogs my entire life. And then when I moved here, I got my first cat and the cat got stuck to me. And, that thought I was his mother or his sister or whatever. So and cats, now cats come to me, like I say, hey, and they come to me and they stick to me. So yeah, definitely a cat. Yeah.
You're the mama cat.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
And I can choose. They chose me, so I mean, and I love dogs. No offense to dogs, but cats prefer me, obviously.
I love there's like an internal debate. You're like cats, but no offense to dogs. Like,
yeah, well, of course. My dogs are behind the door here. They're listening.
Dogs do. The animals have feelings and know, I think, much more than we understand that they know. But they know, I think so.
Well, I believe in reincarnation and I believe in the evolution of the soul as well. So I believe that if you care for animals, they will grow into good humans. So I treat them right.
I love that. I love that a lot. David, what is your spirit animal and why?
Indiana Jones. I actually put that in my books and in all of my kind of bios. I say that he is, because I love that character so much, and because it means I don't have to choose a specific animal. Because if I did choose an animal, it's very, very difficult. I mean, I love horses, giraffes, baby elephants, all sorts of things, otters. I'd say recently, I'd say that I love otters. I think otters are kind of sort of my spirit animal, either a seal or an otter or something like that. I really want to go to the seaside, and I feel like I'm being kind of sort of hampered by that at the moment. We haven't got very good weather at the moment, and I'm in a new job as well, so I don't get a lot of free time. So it's only the weekends, and the weekends they're trying to charge a lot of money to stay overnight in hotels and places. They're calling about it's this sort of gouging of prices, because it's the people are doing staycations, which means they're staying in their own country. And we have we're kind of near the coast where I am in a lot of different ways. You know, I'm only sort of 2 hours away from any kind of sort of direction from the coast, because I'm in the southeast of the country. So yeah, I think I'm going to go with an otter. I think is going to be my thing. I on Facebook I share a lot of stuff about otters recently, and I like their playful kind of sort of nature, and they're very, very amusing. So I think that's kind of suits me to a T.
I think there's an artist date that's happening in your future, David, where you need to take a day to just go be with the otters. Yeah, that will fill your well, I think.
I think it will too, definitely.
Before we end today, Cendrine, what advice can you give our viewers on living a creative life?
It's a hard question because the answer could be very long. I'm going to try to be short. Do you. Just do you. Trying to be good. Treat yourself or treat others the way you would like to be treated. And it's not just in your life in general. It's in your art, in your creativity, in your business. No matter what you do, treat others the way you would like to be treated, and the rest will happen. Not magically, because they're always bad people, bad apples, rotten apples. But overall, if you treat people the way you would like to be treated, a huge majority of them will treat you with respect back. So that's really, and when you create, think of the people you would like your art to relate to or your business to relate to. If you picture someone in your mind, a name, it can be invented. No matter what you do, think about someone from your audience, and then you will create. You will be creative, and you will seek to create things that leave a mark on the world.
Amen. Absolutely. And David, is there any last advice that you would like to give our viewers on living a creative life today?
I think if you really want to live a creative life, Laurie, then I believe that you should try to obviously find your passions, like Cendrine mentioned before, and really kind of sort of work hard to express those passions in whatever way you see fit. And also, I believe that if you really want to be prolific as well, you should try to find interpretations of or endless interpretations of a specific theme, because I find that once I start and also think about how things fit together when it comes to creativity as well, and the foundations that are built, I find that once I'm able to do one particular thing creatively, I can then think about other creative things and think, actually, because I've done that, I can do that, and everything kind of sort of fits together in the end. And once you get a theme that you're into, I mean, I like found poetry, for example, and I've found that, for want of a better word, that the best way to express myself is through found poetry. And even though I like writing my own kind of free verse when it comes to poetry, found poetry to me is given me infinite inspiration. And I think that if you can find that in your life, if you can find some way to generate infinite inspiration, now it may be that you'll have writer's block or artist block, and you need to, go for a walk, go and do something different, go and watch a movie, go and do something else that's creative, do some other type of art in order to free your mind and get yourself back onto the project that you're working on. But I think that the key thing is to just come up with something that you really, really enjoy doing, and then say, how can I do more of this? And how can I then maybe even use that to say, well, okay, I like to do this, but maybe I could be good at singing, at knitting, at sewing, at creating, any kind of sort of artistic endeavor. You just have to try, and if you're no good at it, then you don't have to get upset about it. You can just say, well, at least I've tried it, and maybe I can explore some other kind of sort of avenues and see what fulfills me. And if it fulfills you creatively, you'll know that it will, because you won't be able to do anything without thinking about it and without wanting to do more of it.
Thank you so much, Cendrine and David, for being with us today and for all that you're doing within your community, within the writing realm, and really helping people be able to express their voice. Definitely now more than ever, it is needed. And so thank you, both of you, for coming together, being here today, and creating such a beautiful platform to help so many during this time. Thank you as well. Special thanks goes to Pam Stack at Authors on Air and Mickey Mickelson at Creative Edge PR for your sponsorship. And as you go about the rest of your week, just remember to look for all the things that are working around you, as there is much to be grateful for in the midst of any given moment, that if you look, you will be able to find something. And we will see you right at 1:00 p.m. next Monday with Anna Wallner talking about her new book, Jarkin. Thank you all for being here. Thank you, David and Cendrine, and have a beautiful rest of your Monday.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.